Tom Caker.
Fran, good morning. Wanted to ask you about the improvement that Northwestern has made defensively this year. What are they doing maybe differently that they didn't do in the past, and how have they gotten so much better on defense?
Yeah, I think it's nothing more than a focus. They really put a lot of emphasis in it. You know, they're over toward the ball. They're doubling hard in the post. I mean, they're flying around. They're really committed to it. And they've got really good players. They have veteran guys. They've got a great coach. And they're buying in. And they're connected.
Mike?
Fran, do you take pleasure when you see a team like Northwestern do what it's done?
Well, I think it's different for somebody else. You know, like I've known Chris Collins a long time. You know, I consider him a good friend. So, you know, I'm happy when, you know, I see somebody who I know is really good at what they do, and, you know, really get a team to connect the way they've connected. They share the ball. They understand their roles. They play defense, like Tom said, and they're aggressive, and they attack. They understand the nuances of what you have to do in close games or winning close games. So, you know, I have a respect for individuals that, you know, like Chris, and you know, give credit to their veteran guys, you know, Bowie and Audige and Robbie Barron, you know, guys that are really kind of been through the wars and have figured it out.
John?
Obviously, Northwestern is playing with a lot of confidence. Is that something you've seen compared to the last time you saw them when they were just kind of getting back from the whole COVID thing?
Oh, they were 15-5 then. They were a pretty confident group then.
Sure.
Any other questions? Tom?
I'll fire one more at you, Fran. It is kind of unusual, though, that a team makes a big leap like this when they don't have a huge change in personnel. You know, with the transfer portal, it's not like they got a couple of big studs from the portal or anything. Is that just a function of their experience and just a kind of a veteran team making that leap?
Yeah, I mean, I think most people would agree that Bowie and Audige are two of the best players in our league. You know, so now they're a year older. You know, Barron has really developed. I mean, he developed physically. He was a skinny guy when he first got there. He's always been good, but he's gotten stronger and he's figured it out. Nicholson has really come around. You know, I think you got to give him credit. He has been a big addition to that program. You know, Barnheiser took a step from last year to this year. He was a freshman last year. Now he's really, you know, really good, playing like a veteran. Ty Berry, a very good player, good complement to those other guys. Capable of big night, you know, hit 6 threes in the first half against Nebraska on the road. And so they got a lot of different weapons. The Martinelli kid's playing really well as a freshman, doesn't play like a freshman. And they got the grad transfer out of the portal, who's, you know, 5th-year guy, big, strong physical guy, which they needed because 2 guys left. So, you know, I think they put the team together really well.
John?
Brent, how much in looking at Audige, you were talking about him, how much has he grown as a player in the last year, do you think?
I'll tell you what, I liked him, you know, as soon as they got him, you know, from William and Mary. I remember, I think it was, might have been last year, but it might have been 2 years ago when he took the Indiana game over on the road. I said, okay, this guy's the real deal. He plays both ends. He's got length. He's a competitor. And, you know, he's this year, I think, you know, a real shot maker, you know, on a consistent basis, you know, plays with a great deal of confidence, as does Bowie, and they're coming at you to score. but they both can make plays for other people. But those guys, you know, they're attacking you and they're trying to get buckets, and they both can score in a variety of ways.
Kenny,
Morning, Coach. Appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. When I talked to Connor after the Minnesota game, he talked about how the difficulties with playing on the road is, you know, the home team is going to make a run. Sometimes it's hard to make that run back in another building. How do you, as coaches, like simulate that adversity in practice? Is that something that you do in season, or maybe is that something that you do prior to the season? How do you go about preparing your players for the ebbs and flows of playing on the road?
Yeah, I think, you know, we try to keep it pretty consistent in terms of what our game plan is. I think you're right. I think, you know, on the road, it's always going to be difficult. You know, at home, sometimes you get a team down and you keep them down. And on the road, they're coming back. They typically shoot it better. They're more comfortable. You know, so, you know, we work on situations in practice, you know, various scores, up, down, have to press, mix in some zone or whatever, you know, just to help them understand, okay, we got to play fast now. Okay, we got to play slow. We're going to milk the clock, you know, and understand time and score. I mean, do we have any timeouts? You know, which way is the arrow pointing? Who's in the game? Who are we fouling? Are we going to start fouling early? Certain people. You know, we work on that stuff all the time to make sure that they know and understand, and then you just deal with it on the road at the time. You know, you can always call timeout to stop a run if you have to. I prefer they do it themselves and understand, okay, maybe we need a longer possession now. Maybe we have a matchup that we like. But again, that just comes down to their ability to make decisions under pressure. And obviously, it's always harder on the road.
okay, we'll take a couple more. Chris.
Coach, I think if I'm right, the Northwestern student tickets for tomorrow sold out in like a minute. I'm just wondering maybe if like the crowd has more of an effect on maybe a team that isn't used to having those crowds like Northwestern has had this year. Have you kind of seen that over your career, and how much do you think that might be affecting how Northwestern is playing, especially at home?
You know, they've had some good teams there. You know, this is not the first time that there's been, you know, big crowds there. They had a really good team a couple of years ago when they went to the tournament. That place was rocking. The student body's always been pretty loud in that building. You know, we've taken some good teams in there and had some tough games. So, yeah, I just think, you know, anytime you're at home and you have a sellout crowd, you know, I think it's something that you hope for. It's something you're excited about. We're used to playing against sellout crowds in this league. Not going to be easy, but it's not something we haven't done before.
We've got two hands raised. We'll knock them out. First, Kenny.
So the last game against Ohio State, I believe you had 5 players in double figures. Last time you played Northwestern, also 5 players in double figures. In theory, I guess you want everybody to get involved offensively. It's probably harder in practice, but how have you found ways to get everybody involved, spread out the scoring, and make it difficult for the opposing team to cover your entire offense?
You know, I think that's something we all hope for. You know, you try to recruit guys that can score. You never know on any given day, you know, who's going to get hot, who's going to get rolling. You know, luckily for us, we have 8 or 9, 10 guys that are capable of being in double figures. And oftentimes, like you said, you know, it's different people. But it really comes down to your ability to understand how to move and share the ball and be unselfish. That's the only way you get 5 guys in doubles. You got to get the ball moving. You have to have willing passers.
Last question.
Yes. You know, you got Northwestern nipping at Purdue's heels in the standings. You're right there. Would you describe this as fun?
Well, I think what I always hope for, Mike, is I want it to be fun for the players. You know, I mean, I'm assuming that's who you're referring to. You know, for the coaching staff, you know, it's our job. You know, we just keep grinding and try to do everything we can to help put these guys in a position to be successful. You know, I certainly hope that they enjoy the ride and the journey. It ain't easy playing on the road. You've been to a number of road games. You know what that means. But not everybody gets a chance to do that. And, you know, they have to perform. They have to perform under pressure. They have to perform with a great deal of scrutiny. But they get to do that with their best friends, and you know, competing is something that, you know, you have to embrace, because if you didn't, you know, you wouldn't be at this level.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Okay, guys.